everyone. This video is going to go over objects and classes and how those two things relate to one another. Before you watch this video, make sure that you've completed all your other modules and you have a firm grasp of variables, their assignment, and the operations that can be performed on them. And also make sure you understand functions and function prototypes and how those two things relate to each other. Make sure that you've gone through sections 7.1 and 7.3 through 7.3 in the book, so that you have a little bit of background knowledge before coming here. So objects are just used as a way of grouping data together. The textbook uses an example of a runner, and so imagine you had some data associated with a runner, like how fast someone can run, the distance they've run, things like that. And if you're trying to compare the data between two runners, you could imagine in main having a couple variables like runner 1 MPH, runner 2 MPH, runner 1 distance, and so on. And if you were trying to do that, it would quickly become unmanageable. It would just get too complex, there'd be too much stuff to keep track of, and it just wouldn't end well. So instead we use objects. And what an object consists of is determined by its class. Classes can be thought of as blueprints that will be used later when we create and work with our objects. And in keeping with that analogy, I'm going to write a house class and show you how we can use it. So to start writing your class, you're going to write the word class, which is a keyword followed by the name of the class. In our case, it's going to be house. I'm going to put some braces in, make sure the second brace is followed by a semicolon. What this does is when the compiler sees the class keyword, it knows that what follows is going to be the creation of a new type. Classes are generally going to be divided into two sections. You're going to have a public section and a private section, and you create those by just writing the private or public keyword followed by a colon. And these can occur in any order. In practice, all of your data is going to go in the private section. For the sake of this example, though, I'm going to put some members in the public section just so I can demonstrate accessing and mutating data. In practice, in your public section, you will have what are called member functions, which will access the private data for you. And I will show you how to do that in the next video. So what are some data that a house has associated with it? Well, we could keep track of the number of bedrooms that a house might have, or the number of bathrooms. A house could also have an address, so I'll put an address in there. And so these are called members, and they're variables that are associated with an object. These variables can even be other objects. So you can imagine creating another class called bedroom, and then keep track of bedroom objects in here instead of just an int, like the number of bedrooms. For this example, we're going to use more simple data, so just two ints and a string. So earlier I said that the class keyword lets the compiler know that what follows is a new type. And so house is now a type, just like int is a type, or string is a type, or float is a type. House is a type. So if I want to make a new house object, I need a house variable. And so I make this variable just like I would make any other variable. I would put the type followed by the name of the variable. In our case, I'm going to call it home. To access the data inside home, we use what's called the dot operator. And you use it by putting the name of the object that you want to access, followed by a dot, and then the name of the field you want to change. In this case, I'm going to change the number of bedrooms. And I'm going to change it to 4. So what this does is it says, I have this house object called home, I want you to look inside of it for a field called num_bedrooms. Which it does. It goes in, it says, okay, I've got a field called num_bedrooms, it's an int, and I'm going to assign that value, I'm going to assign that variable the value of 4. And the dot operator is important because if I were to just type num_bedrooms out here and say I want that to equal 4, we have no idea what that is. We get an error saying that this is undefined. So we use the dot to say, look, num_bedrooms doesn't exist out here, it exists inside this home object. So look inside this home object for that field and then set it equal to 4. We can then pull that number 4 out of our home object in the same way, using the dot. So say I wanted to print how many bedrooms this house object happens to have. I could say cout home has So what this is going to do is it's going to print out that home has home.num_bedrooms bedrooms. So this is going to go into this home object and find that member, and then that value will replace this whole thing when it's actually executed. So if we go to debug and run our program, see that here it says that home has 4 bedrooms. So this goes in to the object home, looks for a field called num_bedrooms, and grabs that value and puts it right here. And these members can be used just like any other variable, more or less. For instance, I could say if home.num_bedrooms equal 4, print true. And just like in our print example where it reaches in and says, I'm going to grab that piece of data and replace it right here, same thing happens here in our if statement. We'll say if home.num_bedrooms equal 4, then print true. So we'll reach inside, put whatever value is in num_bedrooms here, and compare it to the value 4. So, because we set it to 4, and home has 4 bedrooms, when we compare it, we get true. So home is just a variable, and it's a variable of type house. Okay. So just like if I had int x equals 4, and I say int y equals x, if I were to print these both out, they would both equal 4, right? In the same way, I can make a new house variable called newHome and set it equal to home. So now newHome is going to be a copy of home. So if I were to come down here, and change this value to newHome.num_bedrooms, we'll see that newHome also has 4 bedrooms. Okay. Oops. There we go. So home has 4 bedrooms, and newHome has 4 bedrooms. Now, even though we assigned newHome to home, these two things are not the same object. They are completely independent from one another. So, while num_bedrooms in both those objects have the same value, they're both equal to 4 right now, they are not the same variable. When I go into home.num_bedrooms and look at this member, it is a completely different variable than when I go into new home and look at num bedrooms to see what's changed in there. So down here, I can say that I've set new home equal to home, but I want to change new home's number of bedrooms to 2. Okay, a couple important things happened. So first, the first thing to notice is that we changed the value of num bedrooms in new home to 2. So it was set to 4 when we assigned the variable initially. We changed it to 2. But home, the value in home did not change. Home still has 4 bedrooms and new home has 2 bedrooms. So let's go one step further and change home. So now home.numBedrooms is going to be equal to 3. And let's run it one more time. This changed home, even though new home was initially copied from home. We changed the value in new home. We then changed the value in home, but they are completely independent. So the assignment here at home had no effect on new home, and the assignment in new home had no effect on home. So we looked at some of the basics of objects and classes. We wrote a simple class up here. Talked a little bit about the difference between private data and public data. We'll go into more detail in the next video about those two things. We also looked at how you create new object variables, and then how you can change data in those variables, and how you can then access the data in those variables. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.